So, so the topic that we'll discuss now is going to be serogenetics and cytogenetics in reproductive biology. Okay, we also will discuss another topic today, which is going to be the HLAs and the human leukocyte antigen related aspects as well. Okay, so let's start with serogenetics and cytogenetics in reproductive biology. Okay, so welcome aboard. See, in humans, now there is a distinction between males and females. Okay, and the distinction between males and females is intricately linked to the internal machinery. Okay, the presence of those specialized reproductive organs, okay, such as the testes in males, and in the females then you have ovaries as the gonads, right? So that's the major sort of a difference. So these structures are vital, and they play a very, very important role when it comes to the processes of formation of sperm and egg and so on, right? So you take the male reproductive system, right? So if you take the male reproductive system, okay, it's all sort of centered. So of course we've talked about the external genitalia, we talk about the internal sort of like machinery as well, right? So but it is actually the internal machinery that is more important. Okay, so this entire reproductive system is centered around the testes in males. Okay, that is the gonad, right? So this is the one that is primarily responsible for the production of, now if I can use another word, spermatozoa. What is spermatozoa? Okay, till now we've talked only about sperm. Actually, spermatozoa is the biological term for sperm, right? So these are these tiny, mobile sort of cells, okay, which are produced in the testicles of the males. Okay, so it's also so spermatozoa or sperm is basically the male gametes, okay, that will that is basically what is required for fertilization with the egg from the female, right? So that is that. And similarly the female reproductive system, I'll just tell you a little bit about the female reproductive system as well, which we have covered in a lot more detail. Okay, but today we'll discuss male reproductive system in a little more detail, right? So what do you guys remember from the female reproductive system, right? So if I say that the most important sort of it's all centered around the testes, if I say here. Okay, whereas in the females it is going to be sort of the focal point is going to be the ovaries here. Okay, so that is the one that basically sort of like directs the development, the release of the eggs, or the ovum, or the plural form is basically ova, right? So these are all very important, right? Because the human species may, I mean, it is because of the egg and the sperm, the fertilization, that we have the continuation of the human species itself. So it's kind of very important that we understand the real intricacies of the male and female reproductive systems, going beyond what we have studied in ninth and 10th. I think many of you said that you have studied in 11th and 12th. Okay, some of you have done this a little more in detail in college, right? So that is that, right? So very, very important to understand this, okay, in especially when it comes to the human reproduction. Okay, so again, so this is basically like a series of very finely tuned biological events, hormonal sort of regulations. Okay, all of these things, if it happens like perfectly, okay, then this will culminate in the creation of a new life, a new baby, right? So we have to sort of explore and understand these sort of systems really well. Okay, because we should just have that appreciation for the highly sophisticated and remarkable sort of mechanisms that underlie the production of the sperm and the egg, and basically in the larger picture is basically which helps in the perpetuation of the human species, right? So that is that. So we've done quite a bit in detail about the female reproductive system, especially when we had to talk about menarche and menopause. Just to have a reminder, if you guys can tell me what were the kind of hormonal controls that we had seen with the female reproductive system, if anybody can just let me know. When it comes to the male reproductive system, right? So there are two aspects here. Okay, so in females, when we talked about this, and I think you will have the handout, may you have the picture of both the internal one and the external sort of aspect as well, right? What you see here is in the males, you're able to see both aspects, right? You're able to see the male aspects, and also you can see the internal also and the external also. I'm aiming to be in the top 10 100%. Okay, yes sir, you want to be, actually all of you are, you are doing really well. Okay, Rakshita, Devi, you guys are doing really, really well. Okay, so kudos to you, right? So but I hope that you're able to sustain all the way till the end of our batch as well. So we are approximately in what, the 20th session or something, and we are sort of wrapping up a biological anthro. We have some other modules as well, okay, which are relatively on the easier end, okay. So in terms of conceptual understanding, but application is something that you'll have to focus there, okay. So again, consistency, as long as you do it, I'm sure that you will be okay. So that is that. So this is essentially what you see here. Okay, so this is essentially what you see here. Now there are many components here, and if I can just make it a little bigger, we'll talk about every one of these sort of aspects. Okay, now let's talk about this. So this is the male reproductive system. See, the male reproductive system and the female reproductive system. One thing that is different, just to give you an example, one thing different is that the exit point for urine, okay, and the sperm, dono are the same in the males, whereas in females it is not the same. Okay, the urethra, okay, and the vaginal canal, okay, they're two different sort of areas, right? So there are some so we use different sort of mechanisms in males and in females, right? So that is that. So let's take a look at all the parts and try to understand. Progesterone, testosterone, estrogen. Okay. So LH and FSH. By the way, you should tell me the full names. Okay, of LH. What does it stand for? FSH. What does it stand for? Right. See, so this is basically how I take a look at this, right? So we start with what is penis, right? So you must have heard of the name penis. Okay, that is probably the first thing that you would think about when you talk about the male reproductive system, right? So where is the penis? You can see the green color that you can see here. Okay, so what does it have, right? So functionally speaking, okay, the so or structurally speaking, the penis basically contains two major parts. Okay, one is the shaft, which is the body, okay, which is the portion that is all the way till the head. Okay, the shaft is basically the body, and then you have the glans, okay, GLANS, okay, which is the tip or the head. Okay, so I've given you this in detail in your handout as well, right? So, and in short also, right, because the way you can use it directly, right? So I don't want to give like very very long, so you can use it. Okay, so it basically has two components, right? So the shaft is one, and the glans or the head or the tip. There are different ways to sort of put it. Glans is basically the biological term that you want to use. What is the function here? It actually serves as the external organ, okay, in order to deliver the sperm through the urethra during ejaculation, right? So it is an external organ for delivering sperm through urethra during ejaculation. Why am I saying for ejaculation and sperm delivery? Because we are talking in terms of the reproductive systems alone, right? So that is the main thing. So is this clear? So as soon as it's clear, just do let me know if it is clear, then I'll move on to the next one, okay? Because I don't know if I'm going a little fast, right? The next portion is basically the scrotum. See, if you can see the green color here, that is basically the scrotum, okay, the scrotum. So the scrotum is essentially a sac, okay, and that is suspended right beneath the penis that we have seen, right? So it is right beneath the penis. You will see this here. So what is the content here? The scrotum or the sac basically houses both the testicles, like the testes as we call them, and also a portion called the epididymis. Okay, epididymis is basically right behind the testes. You will actually see a kind of a tubular sort of a structure, right? So that is like right beside this. I'll tell you what exactly this stands for. So this is a scrotal sac. Okay, this contains the testicles and it also contains the epididymis, right? So all good. Okay, great. Okay, so we have covered, the penis, and then we have covered the scrotum as well. Okay, the next, right? So now we can go into a little more of what you have inside, right? So the testicles or the testes, right? So in males there are going to be two testes. What is the function of the testes? Testes is the one that is responsible for sperm production. Okay, the sperm production, and sperm production ke liye there is another sort of a term that we have talked about in the past as well. That is spermatogenesis, right? It is spermatogenesis. Sperm production is what? Spermatogenesis, right? So it is here, or it is this particular testicles, right? The testes that is going to be responsible for the production, the synthesis of the male sex hormone testosterone, right? Now you have seen like what exactly is testosterone for, right? It has many different kind of purposes. One such purpose is basically to the male sexual characteristics, the secondary sexual characteristics, all of that, right? So we've seen all those. Now let's take a look at the next one, which is the epididymis. Okay, the epididymis. Can you see the epididymis? Right, so you can see this right behind the testes, right? So adjacent to each testicle, you will actually find this the epididymis. It is a tubular sort of a structure. Okay, the primary purpose here is to store the sperm for a particular period of time. Okay, so it stores the sperm temporarily, and then the sperm basically moves from the epididymis to the next one, which is the vas deferens. We have not come to vas deferens, but you can see this here. So during this particular time period, it basically sort of is stored here, and it sort of like matures here, and then it basically sort of gets delivered to the next one, which is the vas deferens. Okay, so is this clear? What is the vas deferens? Okay, so vas deferens is, so we started with the penis, okay, and then we talked about the scrotum, and from the scrotum we basically talked about the testicles or the testes, and from there we actually talked about the epididymis. Okay, epididymis is primarily what it stores the semen, sorry, the sperm, okay, and the sperm eventually moves on to the next one, which is connected to the epididymis. That's a vas deferens. Okay, so what is a vas deferens? Vas deferens is also known as the ductus deferens. Okay, now I don't know how you have studied it in school. Okay, vas deferens, yeah, ductus deferens, they are the same. Okay, now this is a small, it's a slender rather, okay, and a muscular kind of a tube, which basically is used to transport the sperm from the epididymis, okay, and eventually it is going to make its way to the urethra during ejaculation, right? Does that kind of make sense? Okay, so it is the tube, okay, from here all the way till the final sort of ejaculation. Okay, so that is the vas deferens. um, so when you know that, when you have these family planning kind of things that are being done, right? So there is a tweak in the fallopian tube for the females, okay, at the same time in males it will be in the vas deferens. Okay, so that is that. Okay, so that is your vas deferens. Next is the seminal vesicles. Where do you have this? Okay, can you see this here? Okay, so this will be, if you can see this, you can see the bladder. So this is at the base of that bladder, right? So this is positioned at the base of the bladder. So this is the part that actually produces the nutrient rich sort of a fluid, okay, contributing to the semen ka composition, right? So the sperm and the eggs are not, sorry, the sperm and the semen are not necessarily the same. Okay, the semen is basically the fluid, okay, that enables the sperm to sort of the sperm is a cell, okay, and it is present in that fluid, which is the semen, right? So I hope that is kind of clear. So vas deferens, the muscular tube, which is like slender and it is kind of firm, but it is responsible for transporting the mature sperm, okay, which was stored in the epididymis, right? It was temporarily stored there, right? So to the urethra during ejaculation. So these and it has these muscular sort of walls that is going to propel the sperm forward, okay, facilitating their journey to join with the seminal fluids. The seminal fluids basically come from where? It comes from these seminal vesicles, right, which are these pouch-like structures that you can see at the base of this bladder. So these seminal vesicles, they contribute a significant portion of the fluid that makes up semen, right? So semen is different and the sperm cell is different, right? So this fluid, okay, this fluid is basically rich in fructose and enzymes and some prostaglandins and things like that. Okay, basically these are all providing nutrients and support to the sperm cells. Okay, so this will enhance the ability to move, the motility. Okay, it will enhance their survival. Okay, and so on and so forth, right? So it's very, very important. Then the next thing that you can actually see here is going to be the next one is prostate. Okay, so and this must, I think this is something that you must have heard of. Okay, prostate gland. So prostate gland is basically what it is. It's a small one. It's like the size of a walnut. Okay, it is surrounded. It surrounds the urethra. Okay, you can see that in the diagram here, right? So what does it do? We are, see, primarily you should know the function of each of these, right? So this gland again secretes some more sort of milky fluid into the semen. Okay, so this will play a crucial role in again nourishing and supporting the sperm, right? So this fluid, okay, the prostatic fluid, okay, this will again contain some enzymes and then some acidic components, right? Citric acid, zinc, and so on and so forth. Okay, and this basically contributes to the overall the final composition of the semen that gets to that basically is the one that is ejaculated, right? And then we have the other components, which is not so much of a reproductive element, but just to sort of like cover the topic well. Bladder, right? The bladder is a muscular sac, and it is located in that region that you can see here, okay, in the pelvic region. Okay, what is its function? The function here is going to be that it is responsible for storing the urine, that is sort of produced by the kidneys, okay, until it is released through the urethra during the process of urination, right? So when a person feels like the urge to urinate, it essentially is like finding out that the bladder is getting fuller and fuller, right? So that is that. So again, I'll just tell you, this bladder wala component is something that you can avoid, because the bladder is not directly involved in the reproductive process, but it shares the anatomical sort of proximity with the other reproductive organs of the males, right? So that is that. And finally you have the urethra. Okay, so you have the urethra. Okay, the urethra is essentially the tube that carries the, it's like a conduit for both urine also and for semen as well, right? So urethra is going to be, and that is how it is slightly different from the for the males and the females, right? So the urethra is different in the females in that it is used for urination and and not for the eggs and all of that. But here it is going to be different here. So during ejaculation, what you see here is that it transports the semen, right? Which again, it is the fluid and the liquid that basically comes from the seminal vesicles, okay, and also from your prostate gland, okay, and along with it the sperm cells, and it basically sort of like transports them from the reproductive system out through the penis, and hopefully it will find its way into the female, during the ovulation process. And next thing you know is that possibly, boom, there is fertilization. Okay, congratulations. Okay, you are pregnant. Okay, so this is basically what happens here. Is this kind of clear now? Are you guys like very clear with all of the components of the male reproductive organs? So what is a penis? Penis basically has what, two different components. One is the shaft, the other is the gland, so the head, right? So external organ in order to deliver both semen and also urine, right? The scrotum basically is a sac that contains the testicles and the epididymis, but more important is the testes or the testicles, right? So this is responsible for sperm production. What is another word for sperm production? We call it spermatogenesis, right? So yahan se is basically where you have the male sex hormone testosterone being produced. Epididymis, what is it for? Store the sperm temporarily, okay, and wait for it to sort of mature. Okay, so this basically takes place here. Vas deferens, transporting of the sperm from the epididymis all the way to the urethra during ejaculation. Seminal vesicles, okay, provides a little bit of the nutrient rich fluid, okay, and then which is going to be added to by the prostate gland, right? So both of them basically play a role in nourishing and supporting the semen, the sperm, right? And then you have the bladder, okay, then you have the urethra, which is like the delivery sort of mechanism, right? So I hope this is all clear.